In news just in, an urgent court application by one of the Stilfontein community members has pushed the Stilfontein rescue operations to, well, another level. The court order follows urgent application brought by Zinzi Tom, whose brother, Ayanda Tom, is among the miners who remain underground as of now. Now, for more on the ruling, I'm joined by Christopher Rutledge, who is the executive director of MACUA-WAMUA, then, who joins us right now. This, of course, being the mining-affected communities united in action. Christopher, thank you so much for the time this evening. Really appreciate it. Sanity prevailing as the High Court orders the immediate rescue of trapped Stilfontein miners. That's the heading of your update on this one. Some relief as well, I can imagine.
Absolutely. It's such a relief that finally sanity has prevailed. You know, for so long, there's just been this sense of almost everyone was living in a, some kind of mad world in which the world has gone crazy, that lives were no longer important. And today, the Pretoria North High Court, the judge finally recognized that people are dying. You know, I saw a video today that there were just people dead as far as you could see. As far as the eye could see, there were people dead. There was a second video in which there was people who were alive, but they were saying to us, we are dead, we are dying. They were emaciated. They were completely at the end of their life. And today, finally, sanity prevailed. I mean, where is South Africa? What has happened to our land that we could kill people in this way?
I would imagine then, Christopher, that if this is the case then, and ultimately, of course, this being put forward, one, it's up to Mine Rescue Services, which I believe is still a government department or a government entity, which is controlled by them, to ultimately do this and release the funds then. And ultimately also then to bring an uninterrupted delivery of food, water, and medical aid to those trapped miners. Does this mean it happens with immediate effect? Does this happen from now?
Yes, as soon as possible. The state has been ordered by the judge to sign the order to release the payment. The Minerals Council, that is the mine owners who have, together with government, colluded over the last 150 years, to rape this country from its mineral wealth. The mine owners and government, even this government, who basically took over from the colonial apartheid government, and they were the custodians of ensuring that mining wealth is retained. Those two parties have now agreed to pay for this rescue operation and to remedy the situation that they have caused, that they have engendered, that the xenophobia and the hatred that South Africa has experienced over this period, they have undertaken to save these people and to start to set this process right. And we will see this thing through to the end. They will set this process right.
When you say see this process to the end, is this meaning that ultimately taking government to the Human Rights Commission and even further than that, perhaps if need be, and also then ultimately just seeking reparations for all those who have, of course, passed away?
Yes, we will not stop here. This is the beginning of our struggle. They must be very clear that we are coming for them, that South Africa and will be given the truth. The truth will survive, the truth will come out, and we will not stand for a government that murders people in a wanton fashion. We are a constitutional democracy. Our people died for this democracy, and we will not see this state end up in a wanton, murderous state as Israel has become. It is not going to happen. And so we are so glad that this judgment has been handed down, and we will see this through to the end, Arabili. Everybody, each and every one of us, we have a duty now to ensure that this massacre of over 100 people is going to find justice, because this is a massacre.
It certainly feels that way, and one considers that this, if it is the case as it currently stands, would ultimately be worse than the Marikana massacre in itself.
Absolutely.
If it goes on to be of
Never
that
in
sort.
South Africa's history has so many workers been killed at the hands of the state. Never. This has never happened, not even colonial times, not apartheid times. This is the worst massacre of black workers in South Africa, of workers. And we will not stand here. You know, today we saw the state in its full evil. You know, the same people who, how can I put this? Same people who were denying that people were dying underground. Suddenly, when we got the video today from underground, they could no longer deny it because the video, two videos, they show death, and the worst egregious human rights violation that I've ever seen in my life.
Yeah. What happens to the mining company, though, Stilfontein Gold Mine, ultimately, on the back of this? Because according to an interview we had a few days ago with them, they had said that they do not necessarily need the closure certificate, but ultimately not having rehabilitated this mine correctly or not having closed it correctly is also part of the reason why we have this situation as it currently stands.
Yeah, so Arbil, in terms of the bigger court case, we are most likely going to withdraw our constitutional court application, which we brought for urgent adjudication. We are going to go back to the courts and we are going to prepare a proper case. And we are going to expose the injustices that have been visited upon the South African society for the last 150 years. Yeah, and it's strange now that my internet seems to be problematic, but you know, we will continue to find ways to hold those in power to account. Those who have benefited from apartheid and coloniality, we will find ways to hold them to account.
Yeah, one wonders, do you know how long it might take then? I mean, obviously, you're not necessarily a rescue services expert in this regard, but how long would it ultimately take, do you believe, in order to get everyone out of those shafts? Because this needs to happen ultimately quicker than ASAP, really.
Indeed. No, we're still looking at a couple of weeks at least. From all accounts, the mine rescue services are only going to be able to bring out a limited amount of people per day. So we're looking at an extensive program of 3 to 4 weeks, depending on the number of people that we have to retrieve and the number of bodies we have to retrieve.
Yeah.
It will be a couple of weeks before everybody is on the surface again.
All right. Christopher, thank you so much for the time. Really appreciate it this evening as well for jumping on this call on the back of what is a significant ruling in this regard. Christopher Rutledge then from Macau then joining us to unpack that a little bit more. The court ordering ultimately the state to continue those rescue operations then in Stilfontein and ultimately actually have them carried out with immediate effect, including food, water and any rescue operations that are ultimately needed.